At 6:42 a.m., the Venezuelan Navy thought they were tracking a harmless fishing boat, but the sea suddenly turned violent, the water rising as if something colossal was emerging from the abyss. A black steel mass pierced the surface, shooting up a column of water over 10 meters high, a sign that something extraordinary was about to happen. No distress signal, no radio call, only a silent wall of steel rising in the middle of the ocean. The sonar screen shifted from green to a burning red. The operator froze, his voice trembling. Movement at bearing 086, large size. Speed increasing. The deck fell silent, broken only by the crash of waves and the sound of strained breathing. Now, every eye turned to the sea. What had surfaced wasn't a mirage, but a monster of the deep, a U.S. nuclear submarine. It wasn't drifting, it was making a statement. Battle alert, the captain shouted. Engines roared as the Venezuelan vessel turned its bow to maintain a safe distance, preparing for what no one wanted to imagine. The coastline was only 19 nautical miles away. Yet the submarine remained motionless as if the waters belonged to it. Through binoculars, its black hull glinted under the sunday, no markings, no flag. But every sailor knew. It was a Virginia class, the U.S. Navy's fast, silent, and powerful attack submarine, a nuclear machine, deadly in silence until it chose to break it. 3 minutes passed, only waves and thick air. Distance 1.9 nautical miles, and closing, the navigator reported. The captain replied curtly, "Keep recording, don't broadcast." They didn't yet realize this surfacing was a message, not an accident. It was a message, and every camera aboard the Venezuelan ship was about to capture the moment. The Gyri was no stranger to shadows offshore. Though built with Italian systems, her crew trained under Soviet doctrine, patrolling the northern waters night and day as a shield of national sovereignty. On paper, their mission was simple: keep the waters clear of intruders. But reality was far different. They were forced to shadow the most powerful fleet on Earth, operating right along their maritime edge. This morning's 12-hour patrol along Puerto La Cruz had seemed peaceful until now. Sonar steady, radar showing only fishing boats, calm seas. Then, at exactly 6:42 a.m., the ocean erupted. The target fixed itself off their bow, a Virginia-class submarine, bearing 086, less than 2 nautical miles away. A distance enough to chill any Navy's blood, especially when the opponent was the United States. Inside the American submarine, every motion unfolded with clockwork precision. Observation stations worked in silence. Communication kept minimal. The U.S. Navy called this a presence mission to project strength without a single threat. They held position in international waters, 12 nautical miles beyond Venezuela's border. Legally, no violation. Politically, it was like parking a fighter jet at someone's doorstep. This was no longer about territory. It was about posture, resolve. And whoever flinched first would decide how the standoff ended. At 6:47 a.m., the confrontation officially began. The U.S. submarine remained still, no turn. No heading change, just a silent 8,000-ton wall of steel facing the trembling Venezuelan ship. On deck, every pair of eyes followed each ripple, waiting to see who would move first. On the bridge, silence ruled. The target sat dead center on the ship's axis, a position that made even a veteran captain sweat. Distance 1.6 nautical miles, the helmsman reported. Maintain course, 15 knots, the captain replied. In the control room, sonar sensitivity was maxed out to catch even the faintest sound. No propeller noise, no bubbles, only perfect stillness. Whoever commanded that submarine was a master. Then, suddenly, a single ping echoed sharp, cold, deliberate. The U.S. sonar sent its first signal, not aggressive, but clear enough to deliver a message. They're holding zero depth, completely stationary. The technician said. "Keep recording," the captain whispered. On deck, Venezuelan sailors crowded the railings, watching the black vessel gleam under the early Sunday. For many, it was the first time they'd ever seen an American submarine this close. To them, it wasn't just steel, it was power made flesh. Smooth, massive, silent, a machine built to end wars, not start them. Inside, every movement had purpose, every frame recorded. Both sides were collecting data headings. Speed, wake, because in modern naval warfare, the first weapon fired isn't a missile. It's evidence. By 6:52 a.m., the distance had shrunk to just 1.3 nautical miles. No movement, no voices. The sea was flat as glass, yet tight as a drawn bowstring. Venezuela held position. America held its silence. Between them, the water seemed electrified, each ripple carrying the weight of an invisible warning. To understand why the U.S. submarine dared to surface so close, one had to look beyond the radar. For months, the U.S. submarine dared to surface so close. Navy had conducted Operation Sentinel South, safeguarding shipping lanes and intercepting drug and weapons trafficking through the Caribbean. Those same routes crossed waters Venezuela claimed as its own, a gray zone between law and politics. Washington called it freedom of navigation. Caracas called it provocation. Such encounters happened often unspoken, unseen. Every move calculated like a chess match in the dark. Today's surfacing wasn't an accident, it was a controlled display. The message was clear. We can appear anytime, anywhere, and you'll only know when we choose. The Virginia class was designed for that very purpose, stealthy, enduring, absolutely silent when needed. When such a submarine rises near a patrol route, it's not a sign of weakness, but a declaration. We've seen everything. For Venezuela, it was deeply unsettling. Their short-range sonar and coastal patrol aircraft were built to catch smugglers, not nuclear phantoms beneath the sea. When a U.S. submarine surfaces within sight, it's not just presence, it's surveillance made visible. Both sides understood the gravity. No one wanted conflict, but both needed to show strength. To Washington, it was law enforcement. To Caracas, it was national pride. Between them lay only a thin line of restraint, an invisible border, one wave apart, enough to spark a diplomatic crisis. At 6:57 a.m., tension peaked. The U.S. submarine had stayed motionless for 15 minutes, half submerged. Its mast pointed straight at the Venezuelan ship like a drawn blade. Every second was deliberate. Distance 1.2 nautical miles, the helmsman said. The captain's voice remained calm, though his hand gripped the railing. Hold course, weapons safe, on deck. Guards manned the 50 caliber guns, not aimed, but ready. Every camera recorded, every radio muted low. Every move was logged for headquarters. Suddenly, the submarine moved a slight tilt to port. Less than 10 degrees, but in naval language, it spoke volumes. "Sir, it's turning toward us," the officer whispered. The captain glanced at the heading display. 084 shifted to 083. They were being targeted, not by radar, but by positioning. No warship turns its bow without intent. The Venezuelan commander responded by the book, accelerating to 15 knots, keeping a parallel course, sliding across the submarine's beam. Not provocation, but defiance. "We will not back down." Deep below, the American crew watched through high-resolution optics. Every camera, every acoustic sensor, every radar pulse from the Venezuelan ship was logged by the American system. They weren't provoking, they were collecting. The submarine's captain knew Caracas would use this footage for propaganda, and he gave them exactly that. A portrait of U.S. strength. Still within the law, on the Venezuelan deck, adrenaline surged. The deputy officer leaned over the console. "Minimum distance, 1 nautical mile," he reported. "Maintain speed." The captain ordered, eyes locked on the target.
Ma'am, look at the
Two
satellite
ships
feed.
faced
We have
each
a
other
confirmed
in
threat
suffocating
vector approaching the
silence.
exclusion zone.
I see
One
it.
mistake,
Rerouting the drone path now.
and the water could turn red in an instant. Then, finally, movement. The submarine tilted slightly, its bow lowering. No flares, no signals, only white foam fading like smoke. Within 20 seconds, the steel Leviathan vanished. The sea sealed itself again, flat and calm, as if nothing had ever happened. Venezuela's radar showed one faint echo, then silence. 7:03 a.m. The ocean was quiet again, but the sailors' hearts still raced. On the bridge, no one spoke. The radar was blank, sonar cold, and blue once more. The U.S. submarine was gone as fast and silent as it came. The crew stood frozen, aware they had just touched something beyond comprehension. The captain broke the silence. Mark final coordinates. Save all data. His voice was calm, though his eyes were still tight. The Venezuelan ship cruised 10 more minutes, sweeping sonar in every direction. No response. The ocean swallowed every trace, leaving only men trembling before the void. Far below, the U.S. submarine had already descended 60 meters, gliding away like a phantom. Sensors confirmed no pursuit. The mission log recorded coordinates, reaction times, all encrypted and sent back to Southern Command. It had been a test, and they now had their answer. On the Venezuelan deck, tension eased. Sailors exhaled, still wary of the sea's surface. Encounters like this rarely make the news, yet they shift the balance of power in the Caribbean. The U.S. Prime Navy called such moments gray zone operations, displays of power without a single shot fired. Every second of this morning's standoff was recorded, archived, and analyzed. In modern naval warfare, victory doesn't come from firing first, but from arriving first. Control of the ocean doesn't belong to noise, but to presence. And this morning, the sea belonged to the United States. For the Venezuelan crew, it would be a story told for years, the moment when the sea was still, but hearts raced. For the U.S. Navy, it was just another patrol, another quiet lesson written in steel. So if you were the commander that morning, what would you have done? Hold your course? Or turn away? Leave your answer below. If you enjoy real-life stories from the open sea, like, subscribe, and turn on notifications so you won't miss the next encounter. And if you'd like to support the channel, join the fleet and help us bring the ocean's hidden stories to light.